Hello everybody, welcome to the Marauders Guild and welcome to Star Wars Altered History Behind the Scenes. That's right, the Behind the Scenes is back. I didn't actually get to do it for the Maul Dies at Mandalore's series. And before I get into the next Altered History and really into anything else here on the channel, it is only right that I give you guys the behind the scenes for those who are interested in learning what it was like writing this particular series, canceled ideas, things of that variety. And like usual, we're going to be going episode by episode, giving you guys all the things that went through my mind in writing this series, things that would have gone differently, and such on and such on. So sit back, relax, get yourself some food if you want, because this is going to be quite a plentiful episode. Not going to be as long as others, more than likely, but still going to be very interesting, I feel, for you guys to have some fun sitting back and enjoying and listening to this, because it's a podcast style thing. For anybody who has never seen it before, this is basically a podcast episode. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the first episode, episode 1, The Fall. Now, also, I want to keep in mind, this is how I'm looking at my original script. A lot of times I will change the name of the episode after I'm editing it, because I feel like, oh, this could be a better title. I can't remember if this is what the final title was. So this also gives you a little peek of what everything, just like basically everything in writing this series. So in episode 1, first off, I want to talk about why it changed, because if you remember, there was a poll, and the poll was actually Ahsoka kills Maul at Mandalore. So I was going to write this episode in a sense of Ahsoka actually dealing a death blow to Maul. But the reason I decided against it was I couldn't think of a logical reason as to why Ahsoka would go for the kill, because she was given the objective to capture Maul, and she's not the type of person to go outside of any kind of ideas or anything that she's given. She's going to be very straightforward, and I thought, I just can't see her killing Maul. Like, even if she has like a fit of rage or something like that, I just can't see that happening. So I decided to change it, but still keep the same spirit of Maul dying. So I had Maul, in a sense, sacrifice himself when he believed he was going to get captured. That's what you see in that penultimate moment when in season 7 rather, when he gets ready to be captured by the Republic. And you remember there's that ship that was going to take him away that we assume was being flown by like Kira or something. I don't know if it was ever confirmed. I doubt it was Kira. I think she was still a kid at this point. But that ship shows up, and Maul tells the ship to fire all cannons, basically. It fires. Ahsoka is startled by the blast. She loses grip of Maul, and he plummets to Mandalore below. Now, I did make the purposeful choice of not actually seeing Maul die. His body just disappears, because if you know, in Star Wars, if you don't see them die, they're not dead. And I did that with the idea of, if I want to bring Maul back, I can. I wasn't going to at the time, but one of the things I learned as I write is that things can change and ideas will change. So if I was ever going to be in a situation where I could bring Maul in, I wanted to still be able to do so. So that's why Maul died the way he did in this particular series. So now that Ahsoka has failed in capturing Maul, this is where a lot of the key elements of this story start to take fold, and getting me to the end of her fighting Anakin and things of that variety. We see her meeting with the Jedi Council is very different, because Mace Windu at the center of it isn't too keen on Ahsoka Tano being here, because she basically left the Jedi Order, and he's probably one of the more stern Jedis to exist at this time. So not only is she acting on the part of Republic, but not in the Jedi Order, she failed. Maul was killed, and all secrets that went with him are never going to be found out. At least they believe that. So he is very resentful towards Ahsoka, and what hurts Ahsoka more is the fact that the council also sees it that way. Yoda, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and I believe Aayla Secura is there in that moment as well. I'm not physically there with the holograms, all of them, but that's kind of what I want to do, is build this separation with Ahsoka in the beginning, kind of isolate her in this little pocket right before the big one comes, right before Order 66, takes in effect. So she's being placed in this pocket. She failed. She's being sent away from the army. And since she's no longer in command, she decides it's time for me to go. So she's going to leave. But the clones, they have no other order to return the Coruscant at this moment because they don't have Maul. So they decide to stay on Mandalore and help with the cleanup while Ahsoka gets ready to leave. So Ahsoka goes off to her own ship. She's preparing to leave. And in that moment, that's when Order 66 is enacted. And she hears this battle erupt. Why? Because the clones know that she was working with the Mandalorians. The Mandalorians have no idea what's going on themselves. But if they have blasters pointing at them, you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to point blasters back. So the clones and Mandalorians got into another battle with each other. Ahsoka obviously hears this, runs over, and she's put in the fray of yet another battle between the now Galactic Empire and Bo-Katan's Night Owls and Mandalorians. And even some of Maul Shadow Collective that now see themselves taking up arms alongside their one-time enemies and Mandalorian blood. So, Mandalorian is erupted in war. That's how I basically ended the episode with that. Order 66 going on. Things have variety. So, we go to episode 2. Episode 2, we're here in the thick of it. Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, her Legion, and the 501st, or really the 332nd, I guess you can say, that have joined them on Mandalore are all engaged in conflict. And Ahsoka, she's looking for Rex. She's looking for answers as to why everything has happened, because Rex is still here on Mandalore as well. She decides to go. I'm going to fast forward a bit here so I can kind of get to my point here and what really was being done in episode 2. So she goes to the communication room and she has this conversation with Rex, in which you find out Rex does not even go by Captain Rex anymore. He has now resorted to his official identification number, CT7567. The reason I did that is you saw it a little bit in Clone Wars Season 7, but you see it a lot in Bad Batch. Clones, when the Empire took over, went back to their numbers. You rarely had a clone. I think Crosshair we see is a special exception. He still is acknowledged by Crosshair most of the time, but he still goes by CT. I believe his number is 1009, I believe. But he has gone back to his CT number in most instances, and all the other clones have as well. So I feel like it was fitting that Rex got it back. And one key thing I did here was Rex wasn't with Ahsoka. So we saw in Season 7, when Rex was with Ahsoka, he had that one moment to tell her at least a hint as to what was about to happen. He's not there for that. He said it, but he said it to Bo-Katan, somebody who had no idea what he was talking about. So and they're not in position to even fix it. They're on Mandalore in the middle of a battle. The nearest medical station is on a Venator that's somewhere off planet. So they're in a bit of a bind here. They're in a real struggle. So Ahsoka has this moment where she tries to do the natural approach to bring Captain Rex back out. She tries to speak to him in a moment of peace. And again, this is me creating a bubble for her. So she asks Captain Rex to remember who you are. And Rex only says traitor before firing on her. And that's kind of like, boom, reality is hitting. That's me really blending Ahsoka's story into Revenge of the Sith, because that was the overall goal here. The goal was to create a story that had the vibe of Season 7, that had the atmosphere of Season 7, especially the latter episodes, but also bleed that into the second half of Revenge of the Sith, because that's what I want. That's the what's the word I want to use here? That's the arch, or the arc I wanted to work with. So that's what I was doing in that moment. So we go on to episode 3. Ahsoka has survived the attempt on her life, and she's now inside this facility being chased by clones. But one of the things I now start planting a seed to is her mind is going to Anakin a lot. She's wondering what's going on. Where is he? Is he still alive? Because she's reaching out, but there's nothing there. She doesn't find Anakin. We obviously know why, but she doesn't. So when she's finally able to get off world, she has a moment where she's drifting and she is having this vision of essentially Malachor from Star Wars Rebels. I described it as she's on a temple and there's this figure standing before her in a dark suit and it's charging towards her and she has no idea what it is. And when she snaps back, she's back inside her ship. And the reason I did that, it wasn't more so just an Easter egg. I wanted that to be a premonition to show you that at first I didn't want her to fight Anakin. When I was writing this series, originally I did not have plans on her going to Mustafar and fighting Anakin. My original plans, as you will see when Bail Organa comes into the episode, was to help him build the rebellion. That's what I wanted Ahsoka to do. But then I had a moment of, like, is this really what she would do at this point in time? Especially with everything I've done with her so far in terms of creating that bubble. Does she want to go from one war to the next that quickly? Or does she want to assure that the things she still has stay that way, stay connected to her? And that's why I was like, yes, she's going to want to go to Anakin. She's going to want to find out where he is and what he's doing. So you have moments throughout episode 4. That's where she goes to meet Bail Organa, and he is in a room with a bunch of senators, Mon Mothma, and others, taking from the lead scene in episode 3, but like changed up a little bit because I believe the scene in episode 3 that was deleted, that also featured Padme, was before the rise of the Empire. Now this is after. So the sense I had was, yeah, that meeting took place, and now they're having it again because their fears have now come to fruition, and the Empire has risen, the Republic has fallen. And Bail Organa wanted Ahsoka to be the first critical step in building a resistance, because what more could you ask for when you get a Jedi? But obviously at this point, she doesn't consider herself a Jedi. So that's why she wasn't so quick to join. And again, like I said, she did not want to get in a conflict again. But she is now on track to go find Anakin. And this is where I start blending her into episode 3 a lot. She is seeing all these moments that we saw in the film from another perspective. We saw all these moments up close and personal. She's seeing all these moments from afar. She's seeing Obi-Wan talk to Padme from afar. She's seeing, when they go to Mustafar later, she's seeing that conversation from afar. She's that third person perspective. We're supposed to be third person, but she's third person within, if that makes sense. So that is really what I was doing with Ahsoka here. So let's go to episode 5, the finale, and let's talk about what I did there, because I know there's some questions concerning the ending and things of that variety. So the reason I had Ahsoka, one, be so eager to fight Anakin is going back to that isolationist, that bubble that I kind of put her in. She, of course, loves Anakin like an older brother, because that's what he was to her. She did not want to believe that Anakin had turned to the dark side. And it's just like any kind of instance, even in real life, if someone you love dearly does something terrible, you do not want to believe that person actually did it. And for the longest time, until you see viable proof, you're not going to believe it. And that's what I did with Anakin. Pretty much everybody was like that with Anakin. Obi-Wan was like that until he saw security recordings. Padme was like that until she saw what Anakin had become. So I wanted Ahsoka to be the same way. So she's heard the stories about the security recordings, but she didn't see them. So it's not solidified yet. She knows there's a chance that Anakin's gone, but she hasn't seen it for herself. So she still thinks in this very moment, there's a chance that my master is still there. But when she goes to Mustafar, and she sees what happens between Anakin and Padme, she sees that Anakin hurts Padme. She knows at that moment, he's gone. And she takes on the responsibility of fighting him because, yes, Obi-Wan was her master. Obi-Wan was his master, rather. But Anakin was her master. And she left a year prior. And she has this weight, this guilt that she was the reason why. So she takes on herself to fight. She fights him. and leaving Obi-Wan to take care of Padme. But I didn't want there to be a solidified winner in this fight. I didn't want Ahsoka to be killed. I didn't want Anakin to be hurt and turned into the Vader that we know. I wanted there to be a division to kind of set up this new future for the Star Wars universe. So I had Ahsoka be escorted out by Obi-Wan. My Anakin was still there. Anakin survived. That's the one key thing I want to say. Anakin is alive, and the more critical thing, he is not put in the suit. He is pre-suit Vader in this particular story. Key thing I want to get out there. And you saw in the epilogue, I had Ahsoka actually volunteer to raise the Skywalker children, because she is again trying to alleviate her, I guess you say, failure towards Anakin in some kind of form or fashion. And she also knows that it's not the right choice to separate these kids when you have the Sith ruling the galaxy. And these two children are more than likely the only hope that they have of changing that. So that's where that part of the story came in. And that's also kind of everything I want to wrap up about the behind the scenes here for Star Wars Alter History. Maul dies at Mandalore. I hope everybody that watched it truly enjoyed it. And keep an eye out, because a lot more content is coming to the channel, including the next Altered History series, The Galactic Empire Wins the Civil War. It will be a reboot, so the episodes that are already on the channel will not be considered a part of that story. I've talked about it before in previous videos. I wrote that series so long ago that I completely lost track of everything I wanted to do with it. So I'm going to be giving it a fresh slate. It will be kind of based around the same things. A lot of things will be different, though, because I want to flesh it out a lot more than I did originally. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be coming next Sunday. But also keep an eye for any other content that will be popping up on the channel, whether it be Star Wars games. Also, keep a look to my Twitch page, because I'll be streaming some games there as well. And yeah, that's be about it. That is it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. Ring the bell to get notified about every upload here on the Marauders Guild. And until the next time, may the force of others be with you.